All right, I want to know what's the dumbest thing a customer has said or asked. A customer wanted some sliced ham from the deli. After some back and forth, I want the one that's on sale. Which one? There are three. That one. I can't see which one you're pointing at. He finally tells me which one, then stopped me and asked, "Wait, what is ham made out of?" Ham? It's pork. Oh, I don't like pork. Do you have ham that isn't from a pig? Oh, all right. Thanks anyway. And he walked away without getting anything. Story 2. Unironically, the conspiracy theories about COVID, 4G wavelengths, and nanochips during the pandemic because I told him to wear a mask, it was mandatory. Both me and the store would be penalized if I didn't enforce it. That stuff isn't even so common in my country. I've seen it floating around online, in English forums, but not once did I encounter it in my native language or in my country. And then there he was on a Monday morning, 6 a.m., standing in the middle of the local shop in my tiny village talking about wavelengths and how this all ties into deforestation, etc., asking about my views on the matter. I've never been more baffled in my life. Like, sir, I got up at 4 a.m. I have a whole shift ahead of me. I can guarantee you that whatever little I have the energy to think about is not nanochips and wavelengths. IDK, what I replied, but I think he wasn't satisfied with it. In the end, he said goodbye by saying, "Have a good weekend," and then he came back 2 days later, so it's not even like he wasn't coming back until next week. Strangest interaction in my life. Probably worth mentioning that the same guy who told me he had a gliding license and offered me to take me gliding if I just meet him in the cornfields 2 days after when he came back. You probably already guessed, but I denied. And then he never came back to the store ever, at least not during my shift. I've been asked a lot of dumb things, but this man is still the one that baffles me the most, and it's also my favorite retail story to tell just because of how strange it is. Actually, there is one that rivals it. This was in a different store. First, a lady came in, and when checking out, she said that she couldn't not notice that my chakra is misaligned and I should meditate and do yoga. Strange, but sure. Nothing wrong with meditation, and otherwise, she was pretty normal and nice. And then maybe 1-2 hours later, another lady came in and looked at me, told me that she almost just threw up because she stepped in and my bad energy hit her in the face because I've been cursed, okay? I just joked about it because realistically, what do you say in this situation? Said something along the lines of, "Oh, that must be why I get so unlucky and sick so often," and laughed. But then she doubled down on it and started talking about how she can see it that there are 2 girls putting curses on me every midnight. And I'm just standing there like, she offered to put some protective spell on me for some money, and I politely declined. She tried to persuade me, talking about how I'm reeking of bad energy and cursed and she feels sick. And I'm over there just thinking that if you're about to get sick, go outside. I don't want to clean up after you. When I still didn't buy it, she tried to sell me some old teddy bear she was holding onto the entire time. When I didn't buy that either, she left and warned me about my bad energy again. She didn't even buy anything. Both of those ladies in the same day was definitely strange to say the least. Never experienced anything like that before or after. Maybe I really am cursed. Cursed to attract weirdos. So yeah, those were probably the strangest and dumbest things I've ever encountered while working in stores. Story 3. Why do they make you work holidays? Customer, they're on a holiday. I was never even angry at customers for having to be there. At my company, we could sign up because it was double pay and an extra day of PTO if you worked a full shift on a holiday. It's just an incredibly stupid question coming from a customer who is obviously there on the holiday, which is what the poster asked. Story 4. I had a passenger at the airport I work at come to me and demand that I get them on a plane now because they needed to go home and had missed their flight. They'd missed it by like 4 hours or so. There were no more flights by their airline to where they were going that day. And regardless, I don't work for an airline, so can't get them tickets anyway. Here comes why they were late. They had done a day trip to Scotland. Their flight was from a London airport. They said they didn't realize how far away it was. Here's a clue. Scotland is an entirely different country. Story 5. I had a customer ask if we had challah bread. I said yes, but it's in the freezer. Would she still like it? She said yes, so I go and get her a couple of loaves and give them to her, and she gets upset at me because I didn't tell her they were frozen, and she needs to be able to use them right away. Story 6. I worked in a cafe in a big box store. I was working alone since my coworker had called out. Apparently, we had run out of the veggies for a supreme pizza. Whatever. Just none of those are on sale today. A woman comes up and asks for a supreme slice. I explained that we had none. She proceeded to mope around because she wanted a supreme slice. I offer her cheese, pepperoni, or meat, yet she was determined for me to magically manifest this pizza. After about 10 minutes, she leaves. She returns with a supreme take-and-bake pizza, the $8 pizza that you can purchase and cook at home. If you wanted that cooked, we could cook it for you to go. However, this bat crap lady wanted me to cook this pizza so she could purchase one slice. I tell her that I can't do that, but She is welcome to purchase the whole pizza and I'll cook it for her and she can take it home. No, she wanted one slice. Karen, this pizza is technically less than $8. If you buy one slice, you are paying like $2.50 for a slice. She explains to me that her mom doesn't like pizza and that she doesn't like leftovers and her oven doesn't work, etc. She kept this up for like 20 minutes. This lady had to be like 40 years old. Same lady, on another night, when with a coworker. I swear we were just talking about this lady because my coworker dealt with a similar situation with her when she showed up again. I was bad and totally ducked, so she had to deal with her. At first, I'm not evil. This time she wants a smoothie. We were in the process of cleaning out the ice cream machine. It was filled with soap sanitizer and doing its thing. Crazy lady decides to mope around for the next 20 minutes because she really wants a smoothie. I don't freaking know what she expected us to do. Do you want to drink soap? Do you expect us to stop at mid-cycle and just fill it with ice cream again? Even if we did this, the store would be closed by the time it was ready. Till this day, I cannot believe this was a real human being. Story 7. Here's some stuff from when I used to work at a clothing brand. What color is this shirt? Asked several customers coming to me with different colored shirts when it literally says on the label, or what size is this? Do you know what a label is? Or can you read the sticker on the shirt that says M? Also had a lady come in to return a dress, claiming it was faulty because it had a hole. Mind you, she cut off the sleeves, the care label, and the label behind your neck, as well as the neckline. A lot of times people will stand in lines for the fitting rooms for over 30 minutes, seeing everyone before them being asked to count their items and take a number, but they will still look at you baffled when it's their turn. And you ask them how many items they have, and 90% of the times, they will just answer, I don't know, staring you down until you snatch the bag from them to count or ask them to do it themselves. Others will literally undress down to their panties on the shop floor to avoid waiting to try stuff on, and will act like you are insane when telling them to put their clothes back on several times. I had people try to return stuff they clearly had washed wrong, saying they haven't touched it and it just turned into whatever fabric softened mess they showed up with Story 8. I worked overnights at my old store. My cashier never showed, and trying to get anyone to come in at 11 p.m. was rarely successful. My son would get pissy when he'd come in the next AM and find out if just reopened 30 minutes prior. Like, you were already in bed and dead to the world by the time this girl and ignored my calls and blocked me. I did what I had to do. Anyway, I close up at 11:30 p.m., made signs, everyone was out. Security operations alerted so they could shut down any front-end crap. I stepped outside to smoke before starting my facing. I'm about 6 feet from the locked doors, 2 giant signs stating what location was open till 12 a.m. if you can make it there. Assured them Dodd was still available for pickups and medical necessities, formula, Tylenol, Plan B, etc., and what time we would reopen. There I am, smoking, playing Pokemon, and a car that had been sitting outside since before we closed, had their goddamn brights on the whole time, was still sitting there. Figured they were chilling since they hadn't made an attempt to come in. Whatever, not my problem anymore. Girl gets out of the passenger side, stands in front of the door. She was on her phone, so she was just waiting for the doors to slide open. Looked up, tried the other door, came back to the first door, and seemingly was reading the sign. She stared at it long enough to think that was what she was doing. Then she turns to me and asks, "Well, can I at least load my Cash App?" I looked at her, walked over, looked at the sign, and read it aloud to her. She asks again. I said, "Madame, no, we're closed." Sucks her teeth, rolls her eyes, calls me a Karen. Then she gets in and they finally drive off. What were you doing for an hour? What did you read on these signs that gave you any indication that, yes, we're closed, except for Cash App reloads? Reloads that you can literally do anywhere else that offers them. We are not the only 24-hour store around. Anyway, that's my story. Story 9, I work in a tiny local chain of stores. We don't have managers at each location, just one for the entire chain based out of the warehouse. And he really is more focused on inventory and HR, scheduling stuff than daily ops. If there's a non-urgent problem, the owners are contacted by email. If it's time sensitive, we call, and someone will always pick up. There are several owners. I've had multiple people proclaim that it's impossible for us not to have a manager. They will literally scream and argue with me. I don't even know how to refute it. Most of the time after insisting emails how we handle complaints, I tell them, feel free to ask the owners if there's a manager when you email them. Ducking idiots. Story 10. This lady was confused how the caps on the containers of broth work. She came up to me in the check stand with 2 cartons of chicken broth where the lid cuts open, that thing on the lid that keeps it fresh, asking me if someone was tampering with it, or if it was just a manufacturing issue. I explained to her in about 5 different ways that when you twist the lid open, it cuts that part open, but she just kept asking me if someone was tampering with the broth, saying she felt unsafe to buy it. Then she tells me she opened about 10 of them on a display we had, and they were all like that. At this point, I call the store manager over because this lady needs to be stopped before she opens all the ones in the store, and I don't know what to tell her anymore. When my manager starts walking over, I pull him to the side to explain the situation, and he looks at me with this grimace and asks me why I called him over. I should just explain to her how the caps work. Then he starts talking with her, and I can start to see him understand why I called him over. And when she says she opened up the whole display, he says he'll contact the supplier to see why they're all like that because he couldn't get through to her either. Story 11. This happened in 2021 when I used to work at a liquor store. Me. Can I see your ID, please? Customer. Shows me ID that says he was born in 2003, so 18 years old at the time. Me. You're underage. Customer. I'm 18. Me. That's underage. The age is 20 in here. Customer. The age is 18 in Russia. I mean, this age is 21 here. Customer. I'm from Russia. Me. But when you're in the USA, American rules apply to you. Story 12. Sell mattresses. This is an actual phone call I received from an older female customer about a year ago. Caller. I bought a mattress a couple weeks ago, and every day when I wake up, my hair's messed up. Do you think my new mattress is causing that? Me. Ma'am, do you use a pillow? Yes. So your hair doesn't touch the mattress when you sleep? No. So if your hair doesn't touch the mattress, then it couldn't be the mattress messing up your hair, could it? No, I guess not. Thank you, ma'am. Have a great day. Story 13. Oh, I have another one. Customer came in and asked for water. I gestured towards the selection and asked her which one she wants. She replied, naturalistic water. IDK if that's a word you guys use, but on my native tongue, that's not a thing, looking at me expectantly. Okay, I guess that maybe she wants still mineral water, so I show that to her. Her reply. She repeats that she wants naturalistic water. Okay, so it's not still water. I ask her, does she want sparkling water then? Her reply, you guessed it. She wants naturalistic water. Sheesh, okay. I guess not sparkling either. So I gesture towards the other kinds we have and list them off, hoping that she just selects one. And can you guess what her reply was? That she wants the freaking naturalistic water. At that point, I listed every type of water we had, and she's still looking at me like I'm an idiot who should just pull out the naturalistic water from behind the counter, because obviously I should know what it is. Who doesn't? And I'm just standing there like, what do you want from me, lady? We're at the end of the list and you didn't say yes to anything. Do you expect me to run to the stream and gather you naturalistic water? She ended up buying some water, but I don't remember whether it was sparkling or still. I just know that in the end I never found out what the naturalistic water was, or whether the one she bought was it, or if she just settled for that because we didn't have any naturalistic water. Sometimes I wonder if she even knew what a naturalistic water was, if it's something she read online and had no clue about, so she just came in expecting me to hand it to her. Story 14. Do you make copies here? I was standing under a giant sign that said, Copy and Print Center, wearing an apron and name badge that both said it, and he's standing about 10 feet from a copier. Story 15. Greets customer. They respond to greeting about 30 seconds later. Do you work here? Sure do. That's why I greeted you when you came in. Oh, look at you. A smart one. Can I ask a question? Sure, what can I help you find? Oh, I'm not looking for anything. Are you hiring? Sorry, but I'm not. We haven't hired anyone in 3 years. Well, why not? Because we're fully staffed and I haven't needed to... Oh, well, that's not helpful. Okay, well, if you need any help finding anything, let me know. Really? Even if I was hiring, you didn't recognize that the person who greeted you worked there? Story 16. Whenever I'm in fitting rooms and I ask a customer, so what are you trying on? They usually answer with how many clothes they're actually trying on, which is the answer I am going for. I thought this would be obvious. Apparently not. Someone here assumed I'm asking them as they are trying them on, which is, it left me speechless. Sometimes I get the most literal, unhelpful, annoying response from the customer. I'm trying on clothes, with no hint or malice, boredom, or annoyance. You are in the fitting room. I know very well you are there to try clothes on. I also got told this response is probably from PPL who don't want to interact. There's no excuse for rudeness from customers, and the people who usually say this annoying response have no malice or boredom in their tone. Only time I pull out the Gen Z stare. I'm sick of this response though, so I've been doing my best to change my answer to, how many clothes are you trying on today? It's similar to when I was serving a Spanish couple on tills, and when I asked, do you want me to keep this on? Refereeing to the coat hanger. The woman rudely said no, probably thinking I meant the clothes themselves since she wasn't looking up. I didn't notice she wasn't looking at the time. I was focused on the till. Very rude of her. But I understand it was most likely a misunderstanding. I had to bite back my frustration. Instead, I asked the husband who had looked up. The woman never apologized. So now I just say, would you like the hanger to stay on? Story 17. I was working register a few years ago on Easter. Man comes to my register. He is risen. I blink my eyes, no idea. Guy says in an angry tone, "You're supposed to say, 'He is risen indeed.' I am not in the Bible Belt and never experienced this aggressive bigotry." I responded, "Thank you, sir, I'm Jewish." That was the best way to politely stick it to the bigot. Guy looked mortified and was done in record time. Story 18. I've been accused of personally hit dogs. More than once, there is actually context. A few years back, there was a study. It was extremely preliminary and not super well designed. Its only purpose was to determine if it was worth doing a proper study on the issue. That is important, because you probably heard some extremely unethical reporting that claimed that there was an actual conclusion about dog food safety and not a tentative conclusion that further research is probably needed. The study was about if certain fillers that had become more common since grain-free dog food hit the market might be linked to a rise in a particular very rare heart condition. It was entirely owner-reported data and only managed to get a very small sample of data to work with. They did not do any experimentation. They did not analyze the presence or absence of grain. They were solely focused on the low-quality fillers in the cheapest grain-free dog foods. They found a slight increase in risk with what they felt was a high enough p-value to warrant further study, and stupidly hit publish. Grain allergies are much more common in dogs than this heart condition. I don't remember how to spell it, and I'm too lazy to look it up. Grain-free dog food is a necessity. Cheap dog food has been a scourge pretty much since the invention of kibble, but apparently the cashier at a random Petco has a personal responsibility to destroy the food she feeds her own dogs, on par with going out and hitting dogs with her own hand. Story 19. Woman comes up to the checkout and says, "I'd like to return these trousers." She's elderly, has shopped with us a bunch, is neither nice nor unpleasant. I say, "Sure, do you have your receipt?" And she points at the trousers and says, "It's right there." She was pointing at the tag attached to the trousers. I politely told her that wasn't the receipt, that the receipt is a separate piece of paper with all the info we need, and she just insists that the tag is in fact the receipt over and over again. I literally had no idea what to say to her, so I ended up calling my supervisor, and she had to firmly say, "No, that is a tag. I cannot refund you directly without your receipt." The woman genuinely keeps arguing that the tag is the receipt. My supervisor just keeps repeating what she said. About 20 minutes go by, and the customer just stands there and says, "So, I'm just not getting my money back?" Of course, we go over the refunds policy for the several hundredth time. This time she finally gets it. And she throws the most neutral tantrum I've ever seen, says she's never shopping with us again, oh no, and leaves. As soon as she left, my supervisor said, she knows exactly what we were talking about and hoped she could wear us down with stupidity, or she shouldn't be allowed out on her own. True to her word, the woman hasn't come back. Thank God, story 20. Whenever I put their phone number in for their discounts and they ask, "Did it take off the discounts?" I told a lady the other day, "Yeah, that's why we have your number." And she just went, "Oh," like it finally clicked. Even worse when they ask if the discounts got taken off automatically before I put their number in, and I tell them, "No, I have to put your number in." Like, why do you think you have a phone number with us then? For fun? When people try to pry the outdoor open after we close just to get in, that's not speaking. But it's still dumb asking me if the fitting room is open or if they can use it. The doors have locks and literally say locked or unlocked. Bonus points to the lady who came up to me while I was on register just to ask. Also, when people waiting for the fitting room ask if we have any more, have you seen the size of our store? It's small as hell. Where the duck else are we keeping them? Up our holes? Fitting rooms are usually all in one place. More when it's pouring out and customers go, "This weather is terrible. Seems like a good time to stay inside," or something along those lines. I asked a customer one time why they're here then, and they said, "Because I wanted to get out of the weather." Then ducking stay home, story 21. I could write a book of all the stupid things, but this interaction remains the absolute top of the list for genuine, complete brain dead enders. Customer has $5 on his loyalty points and was buying a keychain for $4.99. Me, "Do you want to use those points today or save them?" Customer, "Save them." Me, "Okay, that'll be $4.99, please, sir." Customer, "But I have the points." Me, "Already seeing this is going to be difficult." My apologies. I thought you just said you wanted to save them. We can go ahead and use those points for you today. Customer, "But I will lose the points?" Me, "Yes, if you want to spend them, that will get rid of them." Customer, "Okay, then just spend the points, but keep the $5 on there." Me, staring blankly, "You want to keep the sir, spending the points will get rid of them." Customer, "No, I want to spend the points on the keychain, but keep the $5. Me, incredulous, "Let me get my manager for you." This went on for about 5 full minutes of trying to explain to the guy, like we were talking to a 2-year-old, that if you spend $5 on an item that costs $5 the money, will then no longer be there. He genuinely never understood the concept and eventually left. How do people dress and feed themselves every day? How do they know water comes out of the tap and that they have to breathe air? Story 22. Someone asked my coworker if she had a prosthetic hand. My coworker was confused and said no, demonstrating by moving her hand around. They still didn't believe her. Story 23. From a customer who was chatting to me at the register for about half an hour, slow day. It's nice to find someone respectful and kind. Everyone's just so rude these days, and I hate to say it, but it's usually those stage whisper behind her hand. African Americans, you know? Ma'am, I just watched our very black sales associate patiently help you print something for 10 full minutes while he had 300 other things he had to do. You thanked him 3 times while he smiled and said, anytime, don't worry about it. What the duck are you talking about? Right afterwards, she had a diatribe about how LGBTIQQ people are blah blah ruining everything, blah blah, etc. To me, the associate with 5, they, them pronoun pins attached to my work shirt and a rainbow pride flag bandana. I chose to take it as a compliment of how well I can yes and old conservative white ladies, but damn if that wasn't bewildering as hell. Story 24. I quit today. This poor older lady couldn't figure out our website and see what the coupon was, so I showed her my phone, but I was slammed. I was alone and not even supposed to be there until 5. My manager got this attitude with me almost soon as I got my first table and asked her a question. I lasted maybe an hour. I just got table after table. I couldn't greet. The host came up to me. The bartender had 2 tables. I had 8. BTW, 3 of them haven't even got water yet, because this one table was running me back and forth for $3 margaritas at 11 a.m. with no ice. Finally, I just said, sorry, duck this, I'm out. Grabbed my bag and left. Called my BF on my way out. Went to my old job, grabbed a stiff drink and some Togo food and came home. They have yet to text me, because the GM knows she's in the wrong. I have seen her smoking out back and letting line cooks drink beer at night out back. It's on camera. IDK why she had the audacity to get the attitude with me after I got all these 5 stars reviews the other day when I was working alone. Everyone else has a second job or is putting in a 2-week notice. I wonder why. Story 25. This was back when I worked for Walmart. So maybe around 2019, we had a customer who would get red-faced, spitting saliva, furious with us whenever he went to pay for his purchase with his bank card because the card reader wasn't asking for his PIN. He would start screaming at whichever poor cashier who was working at the time, as though she was directly in control of whether or not the card reader asked him for his PIN for his less than $10 purchases he would always make. One day, he got so irate about the card reader not asking for his PIN that he made this young teen girl working the self-checkouts cry. I watched the CSM step in and pull the guy aside for a talk. He was convinced that we were able to control whether or not the card reader asked him for a PIN. He demanded that he be given a phone to call corporate. When the CSM showed him the phone, he said, "No, not that one. I know all your stores have a direct line to Sam Walton himself. I want to speak to him." I had to resist the urge to interrupt and direct him to the Ouija boards in the toy section, because Mr. Sam had been dead for over 20 years. Story 26. Busy, pre-kiosk era, McDonald's at breakfast time. I'm serving front counter and taking cash register. Old dude orders a decaf coffee and make sure it's fresh. I turn around and grab the orange-handled decaf coffee carafe and dump out the few ounces of burnt dregs so I can make him a fresh pot. Old dude shouts, "What did you throw my coffee away for?" I say, You said you wanted fresh coffee?" "No, I don't want no damn fresh coffee." Entire lobby and customers in line fall silent and stare. Some chuckles can be heard in the beat of silence. Old dude immediately turns, beet red. I'm too confused to say anything more articulate than, "Huh?" And he leaves out the door as fast as he can. Story 27. I used to work at a pet supply store, and we'd get tons of stupid questions daily. I need dog food. Okay, you're in the right place. What brand are you looking for? Dog food. There are 17 different brands of dog food on the shelf. Which one are you looking for? Where is your dog food? On the right-hand side of the store? Well, that's not very helpful. I have a cat and a small puppy. Can I just feed the puppy the same food as my cat? They weigh the same and puppy food is so expensive. While looking at the sign that says pets with fleas or ticks cannot be bathed at the pet wash. My dog has fleas. Can I buy a flea shampoo from you and use it here so the fleas don't come in my house? And so many more. Story 28. When working at a beauty store, it was basically a daily occurrence that someone's husband or boyfriend or brother or a DoorDasher would walk in, bolt to the nearest employee, and perform a whole monologue about how they're just a guy and all this girl crap isn't for them and they can't find anything, they haven't looked anywhere yet, and beg us to show them to the products, which almost exclusively were products we had gigantic photos of on the walls of the store, being our best sellers. Where's Clinique? I don't know, man. Maybe the giant 4-foot sign on the wall that says Clinique in huge bold letters and has an image of the product you're showing me on. It might help you figure out that mystery. A close second is the woman who couldn't wrap her head around why a hair straightener from a prestige brand with imported materials, boasting groundbreaking tech with 7 modes, is significantly more expensive than the very default hair straightener from another brand, and acting like I'm the one that set the prices. What? It's $80 more worth of materials? Yeah, I guess. According to the company that sets the prices, yeah. Story 29. At my store, we have digital coupons that you have to have the app and account to use. All the ads in the store tell you if they're a digital coupon and have a QR code to scan to use it. Had an old lady come up to the register telling me she needed a discount for thing. I looked and saw it was a digital one and told her she needed to have the app for it. After she asked how to get it, I got about halfway through my explanation of download the app, set up an account with a phone number, add the deal, put a number on the screen before she said she didn't know how to do any of that stuff. I was like, okay, that's the only way to use a digital coupon though, sorry. The dumb thing she said was that I was discriminating against her and that it should be illegal to put a coupon behind things like that. I kind of just stared at her because what else was I supposed to say? Anyways, she just paid for her stuff when she realized I couldn't do anything about it and left. Story 30. I work at a bookstore, have for a number of years now. A few years ago in December, I'm the primary register, keeping an eye on the clock to make sure everyone takes their breaks on time. 2 women who I know for a fact have been waiting in line for about 30 minutes, while the 3 of us are in a constant deluge of checking other customers out. I finally call them up and one of them says in a very cheery voice, "I would love to work in a place like this where I can just read all day." It broke my brain. I literally had to reset the transaction because I could not remember what I had scanned asked. I wanted to yell at her that I hadn't moved for over an hour, and there are customers all over the damn place. What staff does she see reading? This wasn't even Black Friday or the Saturday before Christmas. This was a standard December Thursday. She had to wait for a half hour in line, and she thinks a bookstore job is reading. Story 31. When I was my, I worked at a fancy grocery store, and several men in their 40s, 60s would come in regularly try and befriend me, like genuinely wanted me to be their friend. One guy asked me to give him a ride home one day and got very upset when I said no because I'm a 19-year-old girl and you're a grown man. He also had approached me in the parking lot at night several times. One old man asked for my phone number, and when I said no, acted like I was the problem and got mean. And then I had to hide from him the rest of the time. I worked there, and every time he came in, he'd ask where I was. Also, when I was 16, a mid-40s male coworker used to try the same things like befriend me and be my friend on socials and send me awful things in messages. His wife also worked with us. To be a woman is not for the weak. Young woman, especially. Story 32. Excuse me, how do I get into the store? Customer standing in the only door that is clearly signed entrance on one side and exit on the other. They went elsewhere. How far is Eden Burger? American tourists in Cornwall. They were looking for Edinburgh. They said they were gonna walk it. Do you guys take euros? A local in Cornwall? We don't take euros. We've never taken them, and I doubt we will anytime soon. He cried real tears when I told him we don't, and the nearest places that do were either France or Ireland. Where's Tesco? Must be the most common question right now, and not a single one sounds local. There is no way of coming to our store without seeing the Tesco directly opposite. Kind of makes me worried that these people are allowed to drive when they miss something so big and obvious. Story 33. Worked for a well-known shoe manufacturer. Customer calls and asks where the shoes are made and explain to them they are made in the Dominican Republic. She asks, the Dominican Republic of China? Story 34. Once a customer walked up to me as I'm stocking freshly delivered salads off a pallet a few days before Christmas and inquired about fresher salad. Do you have anything fresher? The date on this is only a week away. No. Our salads come in with a 5-7 day shelf life, but I won't be using this until New Year's Eve. Are you sure you don't? Our salads have a 5-7 day shelf life. You'd be better off buying it closer to New Year's Eve. Upon saying that, she looked at me dumbfounded, tossed the bag onto the spice rack adjacent to my pallet, and stormed off. Story 35. Closing a location of a chain store permanently. It's a nationwide chain. Last day of closeout. Literally nothing in the store. No fixtures, no registers. Handing over keys to mall management. Lady comes in, looks at me, and just says, I have a gift card. Me. Okay, I don't have registers. I don't have stock. I'm sorry. Her. But I have a gift card. Me. What do you want me to do about it? Her. Should I just throw it away? I mean, it can be used at a different location. Her. You could have said that to begin with without being snippy. Me. You could have asked a question and I would have answered you. What sort of information should I assume you need when you refuse to say more than I have a gift card? She huffed and walked out. I rolled my eyes and didn't care. I'm not employed by that particular company anymore. Duck yourself. Story 36. Me stocking a 12-foot section of Gatorade. Customer, where is your Gatorade? Me, it's right here, ma'am. Customer picks up a bottle of Gatorade. Is this Gatorade? Me inside. Are you ducking with me right now? Story 37. A customer walked into the game store that I used to manage. Do you have any games? While standing under the store name, which has games in the title, and literally looking at over 1,000 different games. Me. Nope, Gord abides no fools. Story 38. Me. At the end of the transaction. Okay, have a good one. Customer. In their own world. Yeah, it's in the parking lot. Me. Dumbfounded. Have a good one. Customer. Just dumb. I do. It's parked out front. Me. Wondering how to further dumb this down. I mean, have a good day. Customer. Engaging his second brain cell. Oh, I thought we were talking about trucks. You have a good day as well. We were not talking about trucks. He didn't purchase anything for a truck. There wasn't anything sitting on my counter related to trucks. Neither of us were wearing truck or truck brand merchandise. The only thing that had to do with trucks near the counter at the time was the truck key in the guy's pocket. My only explanation for this conversation is that the sum total of his internal experience is truck-themed. The man must live, breathe, eat, and drink trucks. Probably married a truck as well. Story 39. Watched a dude open a pack of candy right in front of me without paying for it. He said, "So I actually don't like this. It's pretty disgusting. Do I still have to pay for it?" Told him yes, because there's no taste testing the candy here. If you don't like it, there's a quality control number on the back of the candy package that you can call for a refund. Story 40. I work retail at a pharmacy/convenience store. Old lady looks old for age was complaining about showing ID for cigarettes. Everyone gets that and it's a hard stop. I even told her that I lose my job if I don't scan her ID. Lady finally produces her ID and says, "This like the tracking the people. My favorite uncle survived Auschwitz." Story 41. One that's on my mind right now. Old lady came into the liquor store about 6 or 7 years ago and asked for some tonic water. Ah, okay. Gin and tonics, eh? Cool. Lady looked disgusted. Ugh, no. Disgusting. I mix it with red Kool-Aid. Me. Sorry, I shouldn't have presumed. Her. The red addresses the parasites. Like she was uttering some secret society passphrase or something. Me. Beg pardon? Her. You heard me. The red addresses, the parasites. Me. Not wanting yet another tinfoil hat lecture that week. Ah, of course. Red. All right, enjoy. Next, please. Story 42. While working at Bed Bath & Beyond, someone asked where the Beyond section was, which was a common joke at the time. Ha 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 ha. Or so funny, blah blah. But this person continued on as they were serious. They wanted managers. Unfortunately for them, I was a manager. They wanted corporate's number. They were going to sue us for false advertising. It was like, go for it, bro. Get a life. Also worked for Bank of America when I was younger as a teller. And more than a few times, people would come in complaining about other banks, thinking that they were in that bank. Our bank center manager or personal bankers would do a great job offering customer service, and then would have to add in, "I apologize, but where does Bank of America come into this?" And these customers would always profusely apologize and leave. One lady asked us not to make fun of her. Story 43. C. Where are the batteries? Normal, power tool, vehicle. C. Rechargeable, normal, power tool, or vehicle. C. Finally pulls out phone and shows a generator from our website. That a generator until be in XYZ area? Ducking idiots. If you have it on your phone, just show me. Also, people call engine lifts cherry pickers. Like, isn't that a literal vehicle of some sort that is used for picking fruit off trees and downed power lines? They called load binders. Come along. What the heck? At least that one I can understand because it's used for pulling. But still, people ask me where these things are. I tell them we don't sell those cherry-picking vehicles, and I ask if there's another name for it, make them describe it, and I say, "Oh, you mean XYZ? It's over there," to make them feel like an idiot. Story 44. I was working at a Williams-Sonoma outlet, had to wear a forest green apron and a name tag. First lady asked me, "Do you work here?" Another time, it was Christmas season, and I was at the register. A customer seems almost giddy. She looks at my name tag, which says Holly, because that's my name. She asks me, "Is Holly really your name?" I couldn't resist. "Yes, ma'am, it is." The store does not assign us fake Christmas names to enhance your shopping pleasure. Story 45. Can I take these coffee pots outside to show my mom she can't walk? "No, ma'am, you have to pay for them." Like, huh? She kept trying to reason with me, and I kept saying, "No, I'm sorry. Why would I let you walk out with merchandise that's not paid?" Different time. Another elderly lady came up to me and asked if she could take a plank as a sample. I said, "Not that plank is sold as a pack, you'll have to pay." And if you don't like it, we can do returns. Like, what's so hard to understand that if you don't pay for it, you can't take it? Story 46. A customer that normally was no problem came in, I guess off her meds, or having a bad day, and asked me about pickles. Pickles. She asked me if they were sweet or unsweet. And I told her, I really couldn't tell her because I don't eat pickles, but usually if they're sweet, it'll say sweet pickles or sweet relish. And since this says dill, I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's not sweet. You work here. How come you don't know your own products? I don't know that product because I don't eat pickles. It don't matter. How are you going to sell something you don't know anything about? I get them shipped from another state. We don't grow them in the back. I won't know if they are sweet unless I eat them, which I don't. And she leaves without buying anything or ever coming back. Story 47. I had a teenager very badly try and buy a vape underage. She called the store, so it went like this, her. Do you do delivery? I work at the restaurant right in the same plaza. Me. No, we cannot do that. Her. Well, I just really need a vape, and I can never go there because of my work hours. We are literally just behind you. It won't take longer than a minute. Me. I'm not sure how your work hours are an issue, seeing we open 2 hours before you guys do and close 4 hours after you do. Her. I'm just really busy and can't make it. We gotta close after hours too. Either way, I forgot my ID. Me. For 4 hours? Damn, that's a lot. Well, sorry about that, but we still can't do a delivery. And I would need to see your ID even if we did. Story 48. Customer said I was unkosher because she can't math. We were having a half-off sale, and the item she was buying rang up as $7, so the total was $3.50. After I charged her, she checked the price of the item, and it was actually ticketed at $6, and we had some price increases, and this one must have been missed. So I gave her 50 cents back, as half of $6 is $3, and since the item was half off. She was so mad and yelling at me because she said she was supposed to get $1 back. I refused to budge and even asked my associate in front of her, what's half off $7 and what's half off $6? She still didn't believe me and wanted a refund. So returned it and she left on her merry way thinking she was right still. Story 49. This was a long time ago, but still makes me laugh. A customer wanted a George Foreman grill and told me they would pay $100 for it. The one they wanted was $200. I showed them the $100 one, but they kept insisting they wanted, and will take the $200 one, but only pay $100, no sign error or anything like that. I asked why they were trying to get the $200 one for $100, and they said, Oprah said so. Retailers are desperate for business, so you can tell them what you'll pay, and they will take it. I responded that I worked for unnamed dept store, not Oprah, so she doesn't get to decide our prices. They bought the $200 grill after all. Story 50, asking, do you work here? Lady, I'm up on a ladder hanging store signs, wearing my work clothes and work lanyard, have a store phone hanging off my belt and a radio on my ear. Yes, I ducking work here. What is the absolutely dumbest thing a customer has said or asked you? Story 1, customer points at price tag. Is that how much these costs? Mother ducker. Have you never been in a store? Did you grow up in a hippie commune trading goats for cigarettes? Story 2, so many but. 1, a customer was asking if we had a product in stock and didn't see it on the shelf, but saw we sold it online. I walked over to our computer and went to the Walgreens website to look it up. And we do sell it, but it's online only. For some reason, people always gloss over that fact. Anyways, I tell her, it's only sold online. She then says, Greenwise sales it in store. I honestly had a brain freeze for a second and took a breath and said, Walgreens only sells it online? And she says, oh, and then leaves. Like you're in Walgreens, why would I be talking about any places else other than Walgreens? 2, then I had a customer come in from out of state and was asking about the price of a product and why it was more here, FLL versus in GA. Now, at first I thought he was joking, and I kind of said, that's the sales tax for, yeah, and then he goes, no, it's not the sales tax. And it was at this moment I realized, oh, he is not joking. So he kept complaining, and I just said, I don't make the prices. And he looked at me shocked and said, I didn't say you did. You don't have to be smart about it. Anyways, that got him to shut up, and he paid and left. 3, then I had a customer who didn't have her Walgreens card, and I just said, oh, no problem. You can just type in your phone numbers, she said. No, I don't want to type in my phone, but I still want the sale prices. I just said, no, I can't do that either. You find your card or type in a phone number. So she in a huff stepped to the side and started digging through her purse, and I started checking out the other people in line. Then when she finds her card, she jumped in the front and said, I've been here long enough. I need to leave, and I am thinking, Mama, that's your own fault. Be mad at yourself anyways. I scanned her card, she pays and leaves. Oh, and this one always gives me a laugh. When Walgreens started the card, all policy, a guy came in to buy cigarettes. Now, clearly he is old enough, but he didn't have ID. Now, why it seems so many people are driving without their ID is crazy to me. But anyways, he goes back and forth with me. So I called my SFL and he's like, sir, we need your ID. This guy then says, I know it's the rules, but that doesn't mean you have to follow it. And then he left. I was like, yes, the hell I do. I have bills to pay, and I like to have a place to sleep at night. Story 3. Worked at a Starbucks on the turnpike. Mom and dad come up with 2 girls. Mom tells dad to order them chocolate fraps and her a latte while she takes the girls to the bathroom. Seeing his face when she said that, I knew we were going to have a problem. Dad says I need latte for mom and him, then 2 small chocolate fraps for his girls, so please no coffee. I rung them in as 2 vanilla bean fraps, add mocha, and only to 1 so he doesn't have that extra charge for 2, but going to make them both with mocha. He says, remember, I didn't want coffee in those as it's for children. I confirm, 2 vanilla fraps add chocolate. He says yes. I explain that's what I have. He again says, well, I didn't want coffee in them, so didn't ring it up with coffee. I say I haven't. I explain this twice more. Mom comes back and hears the exchange. At this point, the senior on staff with me stops and stands next to me to see what the issue is. He explains to the dad that what I have on the screen is what he asked for. I can't believe you didn't understand. I didn't want my children to have coffee. It's not that hard. Me. I completely understands, and it's why I rang them up as vanilla and added mocha. And only to 1 might I add, so you're not charged to add it to both, so you're even getting a discount. Dude, why would you put mocha in it if I said no coffee? Me and coworker simultaneously, mocha is chocolate. His wife just face palms and shakes her head. He turned the prettiest shade of red I've ever seen and just said, oh, okay. I gave him his total. He paid and walked off. His wife put a $10 bill in our tip cup, and she picked up the drinks when they were finished. Dad still took a sip out both cups to be sure there was no coffee in the kids' drinks. I stared him down till he left. Okay, people, mocha is coffee and chocolate. Who knew? At the time, the way it was taught to me, not a coffee drinker nor any experience with it, if they asked for just a mocha, it was definitely a latte with chocolate. When ringing things in, if it didn't specifically come with chocolate, it was add mocha. I can now see where he may have been confused and where I was ignorant. Oh well, doesn't change what happened, but won't happen in the future. Story 4. When I worked at a gift shop with obviously overpriced souvenir toys, mostly stuffed animals, I had a woman with like 5-6 little kids approach the registers with her arms full of toys that they all wanted. I rang them all up, told her the total, which was definitely a lot of money, but like, you have a bunch of kids who all want something and it's not the prices aren't on the tags? And she stared at the total on the screen for a couple seconds before saying in all seriousness, oh gosh, that's way too much. Is there some sort of discount we can get? Like, just a random discount? You want a discount for having so many kids? For being special or something? For being the 70th customer of the day? Just to be clear, she didn't specify anything in her statement, like not a veteran's discount or membership discount or anything like that. She just wanted a discount. Story 5. Long ago, in a retail, hell far, far away. Guy comes in, wanders around a bit, mostly ignored, until, where's the cops? Who do you know? My tweaker radar immediately goes off. He wasn't fooling anyone in that rumpled up, cheap suit and tie. Cops? Sir, this is a music store. I don't really know anyone. This was a very large store I managed at night. I was probably very high. Being at least a pothead was a requirement to work there. Great job. And we sold vinyl and CDs and even some cassettes. But I digress. My friend, my employee, thought Darth Snorter was saying he was in some kind of trouble and wanted a cop. Friend says, we have a security guard. Not really true. Dude was a janitor, but he liked to be called the security guard, probably because of insecurity. Anyway, it sent the guy into berserker mode. This coked up Saul Goodman starts pulling CDs out of his suit and pants, throws them on the floor, runs up and down the aisles shouting, trying to frame me. Who do you know? Trying to plant these on me. Who do you know? Cops called. We had a precinct nearby, so they arrived in a minute. Cops corner him, brief struggle. He keeps shouting, trying to plant it on me, as they pull a bag of weed and some vials of powder from his pockets. Oh yeah, turns out the guy was trying to steal Jimmy Buffett, Aerosmith, and Mannheim Steamroller CDs and was actually a lawyer. And he got his cops after all. We are all here to serve. From then on, my friend and I would greet each other as a joke. Where's the cops? Who do you know? Story 6. I think one of the dumbest that I've ever been asked was a male customer asked me if we wash all the clothing that have been tried on in the fitting room. And he was dead serious about it too. Asking if we had a washing machine in the back room to wash said clothing. I just stared at him in disbelief. Story 7. Didn't happen to be but a colleague. We had loose single washers for 5 CEs. This guy says, this item is perfect, but that's a lot. If I go to a different store, I can buy a box and they're only 3 CE a piece. Okay, sounds good, but I only need one. Right, so it's a little bit more since it's by the each. We're talking about a nickel. Finally, after going back and forth too many times, he throws up his hands and says, I've got quarters at home. I'll just drill holes in those. Story 8. Maybe not particularly stupid, but I worked at a Dollar General when I was putting myself through school. There was this old German guy that came in every day and was always a rude a hole. He talked down to us, complained about everything, and swore he would never come back almost daily. Yet, and without fail, he'd be back in my checkout line the very next day. One particular evening, he decided to pick a fight because we were out of the exact brand of cigarettes he wanted, and I refused to check the back for him. 1, there's nothing back there, and 2, even if there was, it would be in an unlabeled box mixed in with all the other random crap that gets delivered. The store has no control of what gets shipped to us. He proceeded to chew me out, telling me I was stupid, and that's why I worked there. That only stupid people work here, that this is the only place he goes that gives him problems, etc. I told him I'm in school working on my master's in education, and that only stupid people would come back to a store they claim to hate day after day just to Karen at the teenage workers making $10 an hour at best. I refused to serve him. I'd like to say that he never came back, but he did, and every time I refused to serve him. I would call another cashier over, and every time he would have to wait an extra 5+ minutes for service. I'm too stupid to serve you, remember? Have fun waiting for the next available employee, and I'd walk away. Story 9. This is like 10 minutes after closing, so I'm tired of the day already. Customer gets 4 items, part of the buy. 1 gets 1/2 off sale. I ring them up, and they keep asking me what the price of each item is after I scan the item. If they looked at the pin pad, they would see all of the information, but I just want him to leave. I tell them their total, and they decide to add another duplicate fanny pack to the transaction. I scan it, tell them they can add another item for half off. Reminder, they're at 5 items now. This dude gets pissed at me, wondering why this new item isn't half off. I tell him it's because he is at an odd number, and then he gets all aggressive asking why fanny pack 2 isn't half off, but fanny pack 1 is. And I tell him it's just the way the system works. Every item after the transaction gets a discounted price that equals the BOGO sale, IDK, what it will look like after printing the receipt. He then demands me to give both fanny packs the half off sale to him half off, so I rescan his transaction so that both the fanny packs are half off, which obviously leads to the same total, because now a previous item that was the same price is full price now. He gets mad and wants 1 fanny pack now. Story 10. My first retail experience was in a store specializing in European antique furniture. Nothing fancy, but solid stuff that my boss, the owner, chose from a buyer based on how well it would fit in a home in Southeast Georgia, USA. Mind you, I was a teenager, and mostly I just came in after school to vacuum, dust, and help move stuff because I was a big old muscular girl and I could absolutely move furniture. It was a good job, and my boss loved me. Sometimes Miss Mary had an appointment during my hours, so I would be the only one there. So fine, I'm in charge of sales, locking up, putting away money. That was not a problem. But the first time someone asked me, I love this table, but it's too large for my space. Could you order me one just like this in a 40 width instead of 42? Ma'am, I don't really have a time machine, so I'm not sure how I could arrange a slightly smaller version from the craftsman. Let me get your number, and I'll have the owner get back to you. I left good notes. Spoke to her the next day in case I'd done something wrong. Miss Mary was an old woman and had a lot of money. She opened her antique store because her husband retired, and she refused to stay at home with him all day. She hit him once, but one nephew was the sheriff and the other was the district attorney. She had exactly 0 ducks to give. She quite reassured me that I was allowed to answer stupid questions with smart-ass answers. Story 11. I live in Las Vegas and work in as a restaurant server. A collection of my favorite guest questions. How do you get food here in the desert? I know you can't grow it. She was serious and forgot semi-trucks and shipping exists. Do you have churches in Las Vegas, or is everyone that lives here atheists? Nope, we have so many churches that some areas have ordinances of how many churches can be in one area. Hee. We have one that used to use casino meetings room. Does everyone live in the casino hotels? They flew in during daylight hours. I can only assume they had an aisle seat, or they would have seen all the houses. How can you raise kids here? Aren't you worried about your daughter being an escort? If you're an involved parent, our schools are amazing and have so many extras, like robotics, bands, fine arts, magnet schools, etc. Plus, my daughter has as much talent for dancing as I do, which is none. But if she did, girl, make that cash. Story 12. 1. There's a sign in the parking lot, but I didn't read it. What did it say? Where was the sign? In the parking lot. Okay, where in the parking lot? Outside. Ma'am, I cannot divine what sign you neglected to read. 2. Are there any free rooms as upgrades? No. 3. I get free rooms at X. Can I use them here? I laughed. Her husband laughed. I don't get why you're both laughing at me. Me. We are unaffiliated with different names and employers. Why are you unaffiliated? Do you think Native Americans are just one group? 4. Hit next, accept, and then sign. Sign here. No, hit next. Drawing on the screen angrily. It's not working. Hit next. Okay, do I sign here then? No, hit accept. I already did. Signs aggressively until they hit back. Now it's asking me the same question. This happens a minimum of 5 times a day. IDK who raised these people, but they didn't ducking finish, I'll end on 5. A woman kept asking questions, cutting me off and demanding changes, getting angrier as I did nothing. Well, can you do that? Then paused expectantly. Ma'am, I don't know who you are. Can you give me your ID? She literally mouthed the words, "You don't know who I am," in blind shock, as the realization she is one of several hundred people in the building set in. It was like watching a calf learning to stand. Story 13. This is the sort of lightheaded, cathartic posts we love here. Keep these coming. For what it's worth, I've been asked numerous times questions I cannot possibly answer. A customer has asked me if their dog would like whatever the duck treats they were holding. I have been asked lots of times if a clothing item would fit their son, daughter, or whoever. How am I supposed to know that? Are they here? Probably the one that left me the most blindsided was the customer that asked me how much trash they could fit in this, holds up trash can. Sir, you want me to explain volume to you? Story 14. I work in an adult novelty store, so NSFW warning. We have strict no return policies on everything except unboxed lingerie, and with that it must have tags attached. No signs of wear, receipted and within 30 days of purchase. Even then, we can only exchange for the same style, but in a different size. This is very clearly stated at our register. Customers have tried to return dirty DVDs that they want to exchange like we're a duck and red box, worn boxers, a sex toy that had been so thoroughly coated that it had gotten in the battery casing and short-circuited, dancewear Triton and thong because the club she wanted to dance at wouldn't let her in, so she gave up on stripping. So many toys that they couldn't get to work because they installed the batteries upside down. Yes, I have to glove up and install the batteries correctly. Plus special shout-outs to the lady who called me to ask if we took returns because a sex toy she bought from us exploded inside her, while said bits of sex toy were still inside her. The FedEx guy who unboxed and ducked a flashlight and then rebored and delivered it. We know because it was covered in his hair. Story 15. I used to work in a men's clothing store with a tailor. I was helping an older couple pick out some new suits for the husband, and while he was in the fitting room, the wife was asking questions about alteration. She asked me if we could alter a leather jacket for him, and I told her it would depend on whether it needed to be taken in or let out. She said it needed to be let out, and I informed her that you can't do that with leather because the holes from the old seams would always be visible. This woman looks me dead in my eyes and asks, "But leather is skin, so it will heal, right?" I just told her that the healing process ends when the leather leaves the cow. Story 16. Waiting on an older couple at a Mimi's cafe. What kind of pies do you have? We have a chocolate pecan pie. That's our only pie, but we have several other desserts that I can tell you about. What the heck kind of Marie Callender's only has one pie? Sir, pointing to a front of menu he is staring at, you've been sitting in a Mimi's cafe for the last hour and a half. His poor wife was so embarrassed. Story 18. I work in hardware. People will often hand me a standard US measurement bolt and say, I need one exactly like this, but metric. So I'll find metric bolt with the same approximate diameter, and they say, the threads don't match. The threads aren't going to match. That's why one is standard and one is metric. Story 18. Why do none of your eggs say grass-fed? Which I then explained that no eggs would say that. As chickens don't live on grass, they are omnivores, not the term I used for them. Basically explained that chickens eat protein, grain, greens, corn. If chickens were fed only grass, they would not be laying eggs because they wouldn't be alive. So no eggs will say grass-fed because no chickens are fed just grass. I then explained that eggs are described more by the captivity level of the chicken. And if the processes are all natural, organic, or anything goes, as opposed to their diet. As I walked away, I hear, it still should say grass-fed. I then walked away and didn't look back. I've gotten dumber questions, but this one stuck out, as they apparently didn't want an answer of explanation to the question they asked. Story 19. I had a weird one. I noticed a customer hanging around watching me but not initiating conversation, so I kept working. She'd walk up behind me, then skitter away like Gollum, so I assumed I might get shanked, but at least I'd get some time off. The girl had to be in her mid-20s, but something seemed off besides the excited spider lizard behavior. I knocked some whiteout off the table, and she rushed forward to pick it up and handed it to me. I recoiled when she plunged her face within an inch of mine, and she finally spoke in a loud, rapid monotone, parsed tongue lisp. What's your addresses? Do you like chocolate? She grabbed my hand, forced the whiteout into my palm, and closed my fingers over it like she was giving me the Philosopher's Stone for safekeeping. All I could say was, thank you. She slunk off into the dry cleaners nearby, but still facing me the entire time, softly repeating herself, what's your addresses? Do you like chocolate? I watched her through the glass wall till she disappeared among the washers around the corner. I told one friend, so we have a call and response greeting of, "What's your address?" "Do you like chocolate?" Story 20. "Your doors are broken." I worked at CVS and we closed at 11 p.m. So I go over and I shut off the automatic doors and I pull them all the way shut. Now I didn't lock them. I had an older supervisor who had trouble getting the lock undone as we were leaving, so I'd leave it unlocked so she didn't have to unlock it, pull it open, step through, close it, lock it again, since we only had a minute to get out 2 of these doors before the alarm would go off. Anyway, so I'm loitering around front as the office is being locked up, and then in comes this woman. I turn around and she pried open both sets of doors, comes in and says to me, "We are in the literal dark. Your doors are broken." I say, "No, we are closed." She stares at me, tells me I should have locked the doors then, and starts shopping. I let my manager deal with that one, because what the hell. I always locked the doors after that and would just go through and unlock them right before we had to set the alarm. Story 21. My store sometimes sells return-tailored or refurbished items at a discounted price. The tag is visibly different than other clearance stuff and says, "Tailored refurbished," at the top of the item. I once had someone come up to me to ask if we had one of those items in another size. I showed them the tag and explained to them, due to the nature of the item, it is a one-off and I can't even check the system because that's the only one we have. They got upset because I wouldn't even try to check, which I again explained, I quite literally can't. It isn't in the system if you try to scan it. They demanded a manager, to which of course I am the floor manager, and they stormed off. Story 22. When I worked at a counter-serve restaurant in an airport, there would be the occasional customer who would walk up to the counter to order and say, "What do you have here?" "Karen, it's on the giant menu behind me and the smaller menu right in front of your stupid face." The restaurant I worked in was an airport version of a normal franchise restaurant, which just means that the menu was a bit limited and smaller than a normal location for that restaurant. So less often, but still way too duckin'. Often, I would get people who knew the restaurant, looked at the menu, and then asked if we had insert dish served at normal locations, but not at the airport location. Sometimes when I said no, they would ask if I was absolutely sure we didn't serve that dish. What did they expect? "Oh, you know what, sir? I don't think I've told you about our super secret menu that's unavailable to the public and is reserved for GTZ, who asked the same stupid question twice. Let me just pull that right out of my a-hole for you." Story 23. Had a lady tell me she got an item from that big rack that says markdowns all over it, but she couldn't tell what the markdown was. That rack has a sign on each shelf that says, in bold letters, "Priced as marked." We do not have a single sign anywhere in our whole store that says markdowns on it. A different lady stormed over to me while I was stocking and demanded someone come help her at the register. We have a button at the register that notifies us someone is waiting if you press it. People like to look over it, so we put a big glittery sign behind it that says, "Please press button for assistance" on it. I explained this to the lady and pointed the button and sign out so she'd know for next time. And she says, "Oh yeah, I saw that sign. I thought it said, 'Stay away from here' on it, so I stood at the other counter to wait." I have many stories involving people being willfully illiterate like that, but those are just some recent ones that come to mind right off the bat. Story 24. My most recent, because let's face it, I've been asked so much dumb stuff over the years that I can't remember it all, was today. A woman put her basket down, and before anything else was said, she points to one product with a big red reduction sticker on it and says, "This is 50p," and points to something else. "These are 2 for $2. I clearly must have looked at her like she's an idiot or something, because I didn't say anything, but okay, yet she followed it with, "Just letting you know." Like, firstly, I was the one who put the sticker on, and I have eyes. Second, the 2 for $2 products are on the only bay in the whole store. That's my responsibility. So she couldn't have picked someone more qualified to already know what she was telling me. She barely spoke after that and left all offended, but I can't imagine why she'd think that was helpful. It's not even like I'm inputting deals as I go. The till does it for me, because I'm not magic. Customers, man. Story 25. I had a male customer at the car parts store. He was paying cash for a few $100s worth of product. He was short. With a straight face, he said he had to go to his car to get more money and he would just take his purchase with him and be right back to pay me. I told him no. He claimed he was a regular. I'd worked there 4 years and had never seen him before in my life. I told him no again. He started getting mad and claiming I was an idiot for losing a sale this big over not trusting him to come back. I told him I have no guarantee he'd be coming back and I wasn't paying the lost amount from my own paycheck. I told him he could leave the purchase at the counter, go get the money from his car, and come back. Nope. Adamant that he needed to take the purchase with him before he'd paid. Long story short, he left without any products and vowed to never shop here again. I had told him, "You didn't even shop here before." Story 26. The question itself wasn't retail-oriented, but it was asked to me while I managed a retail store on the beach. Customer. Points at the ocean. "Are there sharks in there?" Me. Yes, that's the ocean customer. What do you mean? They don't keep the sharks out of this area? Me. I'm vaguely aware of some locations having preventive nets, but unfortunately not over here. Customer. Well, what about fish? Me. Still the ocean. Mind you, this was in Florida, where shark attacks can be prevalent at times. Fortunately, not in this particular area of Florida, but overall, such an odd interaction. I'd like to imagine we had a magical barrier that prevented fish from swimming near the shore. In retail specifically, I'm honestly not sure. I just know Starbucks probably had the worst clientele I've ever interacted with, despite working an absurd amount of different companies, both in retail, restaurants, customer service phone lines, and hell, even teaching or being a white water raft instructor. Never have I met more idiot and dumb people as Starbucks customers.